Hi again. Welcome to Opal Rose Oracle. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. And we're just going to do that meditation over because it's a powerful one. And as much as I love being outside, the connectivity out there was just so choppy, and you all deserve a better meditation that you can actually follow along with. And I'm probably going to delete that one later, the first one, and we're going to just be in the present now and meditate together, honoring where we are. Because yes, this moon day's guided meditation is on Demeter and grief and loss. We're going to begin with the opening passage, getting to know Demeter, and then we're going to go straight into the guided meditation. If you are new, welcome. There are reflection questions at the end, and I highly encourage a piece of paper or a journal so that you can write those down. And there's another video that I just did because we were cut off from the first one for the healing surrounding grief and loss. So rather than having Reiki attached to the end of this video, this is just going to be the guided meditation and the reflection questions. So we will begin. And yes, this is the last goddess of this chapter. So, and we are entering harvest season, so it's all very poetic. I didn't know that this is where we'd be when I first started these meditations. I just love how it's all sort of worked out, you know, magically. So take a deep breath in, get yourself cozy. As you can see, I'm on the cozy couch. If you have a couch, if you have a yoga mat, if you have an office chair, assume a meditative position that is most comfortable for you. And we will begin. Demeter, grief and loss. Demeter is the ancient Greek goddess of the harvest, whose abundant bounty fed the people of her region. Demeter's tale is inexorably woven with that of her maiden daughter Persephone, who was abducted to the underworld by Hades. Despairing the loss of her daughter, Demeter withdrew from her obligation as guardian of the grains, choosing instead to honor her feelings of grief and loss. When we embody the wild wisdom of Demeter, we give ourselves permission to fully feel and honor our experiences of despair and grief. We resist the cultural narrative about how and when to move forward. And we allow the natural timeline of healing to unfold. And we will go straight into the meditation. Take a nice deep breath in. Exhaling when you are ready and closing the eyes. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, allow yourself to fully sink in, surrendering to the pull of gravity. In this quiet space, you notice the rhythm of your heartbeat and are aware that this rhythm matches the pace of your feet walking along a path. As you scan your environment, you notice immediately the lack of vegetation. Nothing is growing where there was once life. And far as the eye can see in every direction, the earth is dormant. As you continue to walk, you notice the figure of a woman sitting on the ground up ahead. As you approach, you hear the soft sounds of crying. The woman hears your steps as you draw near, and she wipes her eyes unapologetically as she meets your gaze. "Are you okay?" you ask uncertainly. "No, sister, I am not. I am grieving. My heart is broken." Taken aback by her unguarded reply, you are at a loss for words. You had expected the typical response given when pain is inadvertently witnessed: the replacement of tears with a brave face, or an apology for the displaying of emotions. You had expected anything but the truth. With a sense of intimacy that only such openness can invite, you ask her to tell her story. "I am Demeter, goddess of the harvest," she begins, "and my daughter Persephone is lost to the underworld. The loss of my daughter is not something I was prepared for, and my heart has been broken. This grief is all-consuming, and I can no longer focus on my work. Until I can once again preside over the grains, the earth will remain fallow." Understanding dawns as you connect the barren landscape with Demeter's grief. But you are curious about something, and you ask her, "How long will you dwell in these feelings, though? Aren't people counting on you to ensure there is food?" "I will grieve until I am done grieving. Contrary to what you've been taught, there is no timeline for grief. I do not hold myself to the expectation that I will process through the stages of denial, bargaining, anger, depression, and acceptance in a tidy and predictable fashion. It may take years for me to process my loss. I might experience every stage of grief in one day. It is only in your linear framework that grief is seen as a checklist to be complete so that one can, quote unquote, move on as soon as possible. Healing doesn't happen that way. and you ponder Demeter's words and reflect on a time that you've experienced grief and loss. You remember the message of our society or the people in your community, the implied urgency to swallow your feelings and get on with the rest of your life. Demeter says, I'll never understand the taboo in your world against feelings of grief and sadness. You remember the messages of our society or the people in your community. Delete. Sorry. I'll never understand the taboo in your world against feelings of grief and sadness. These feelings are as natural as all others, but in your world, there's no room made for them. Loss is met with admissions to look on the bright side or find the silver lining. Never with an invitation to take all the time you need to dwell in the fullness of your feelings. Without the benefit of the ability to feel and process your grief and loss, they will remain trapped within you, unable to heal and wounding you repeatedly over time. Demeter's words ring with a deep knowing inside of you, and you reflect on the pools of unresolved and unexpressed grief that still reside in your being. You wonder how your healing journey may have been different, or maybe different still, with the permission to fully feel and express your grief in your own way, in your own time, with permission to step away from your responsibilities and obligations to others and focus on what you most need for as long as you need. Demeter rises and takes your hand and begins walking back up the path from the direction you came. This land, my domain, is dormant now, but it won't be forever. I do not fear that I will never return to my life's work. In fact, I know with certainty I will. But not yet. Not until my season of grief is complete. With Demeter's words, you feel the environment around you. You see the environment around you with the vision of what will surely be. Grains growing, flowers blooming, the trees bearing fruit. In the fullness of time, a new season will emerge. But only when this season of grief is honored, allowed, and respected. As you return to the starting point of your journey, You thank Demeter for sharing her wisdom. She embraces you and reminds you that you can return anytime you need a safe place to feel your grief. As Demeter walks away, you begin to gently return to your body in the here and now, re-inhabiting yourself with ease. You begin moving slowly until you feel fully present and awake. Welcome back. Welcome back. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to come back to the present moment. Come back to your body. And if you have your journal or piece of paper, what have you, I'd reach for it. For deeper reflection, I will repeat these questions twice. What cultural messages have you internalized about feeling grief and loss? What cultural messages have you internalized about feeling grief and loss? In what ways are you currently preventing yourself from experiencing your feelings of grief? In what ways are you currently preventing yourself from experiencing your feelings of grief? What would it feel like to give yourself permission to fully feel and release your grief? What would it feel like to give yourself permission to fully feel and release your grief? I know I usually go on about personal experiences and because that's what we have and that's what I learned from, aside from the experiences of others. But I think what I want to leave you with this time is an affirmation, an encouragement to honor your process, whatever that looks like, whatever it feels like. If you have the opportunity to pull back from your normal responsibilities so that you can grieve, do it. If you can take 5 minutes for yourself just to honor your feelings, do it. I encourage it. And just know that as you're going through what you're going through, you're not alone. You are loved. You are so supported. And your season of grief will eventually come to an end, and you will come to a new springtime. But I am not here to say when that will be. I'm just here to love you through your own process. And know that you're not alone in your grief, in your sorrows, in your feelings of loss. You are loved. You are supported. And I send you all the comfort in the universe as you treat yourself tenderly and honor your process in all of its different expressions from day to day. Infinite love and blessings. Be gentle with yourselves out